Scientists believe they've made a breakthrough in the detection of a genetic form of Alzheimer's disease. Researchers found changes in brain size and spinal fluid can be discovered up to 25 years before symptoms appear.
Well, Professor Peter Schofield is the Executive Director of Neuroscience Research Australia. He co-authored the paper published in the New England Journal of Medicine. He joins us from Sydney. And Peter, you've essentially then developed a timeline for the progression of Alzheimer's, is that right?
That's right. This international collaborative study has looked at people who are at genetic risk of Alzheimer's, and we've been able to use that genetic information to get that timeline, to work out what the very earliest changes are.
So is it the case that you've discovered that this can be detected 25 years before the symptoms manifest themselves?
That's right. That's the truly unique thing about this study. We've known that the molecules in the brain, the amyloid and the tau, contribute to the neurodegeneration for a number of years now. But what we haven't been able to do is to work out what the very first changes are. If you know what changes before the disease happens, then you can do better at diagnosing. If you know what changes before the disease presents, you actually then have a measure of how you might, in the future, be able to treat it. So that's why this is such an important finding.
So these are mutations that develop when people who are predisposed to developing Alzheimer's because they have a genetic history in their family. It can be detected then in their 30s and 40s.
That's right. In fact, these particular forms of early onset Alzheimer's are really quite rare, but the individuals actually present with Alzheimer's disease in their 30s, 40s or 50s. So it is truly devastating for them and their families, and it is not quite the same as Alzheimer's in older age, in as much as it differs because it is genetically caused. In older age, it's not particularly due to a single gene mutation, but this early onset form is because of a gene mutation, and so we know that the offspring of one of those individuals will have a 50% chance of also developing early onset Alzheimer's disease.
So just talk us through what those indicators are, and then should people who are likely to develop the disease, should they be tested as soon as possible?
Okay, so the comparison in the study are the children of people with this genetic form of early onset Alzheimer's, and so we've been able to look at those who will go on and develop the illness compared to their siblings who we know genetically will not. And what we've seen is 25 years before the expected presentation age in the family, this amyloid protein in the brain or in the spinal fluid decreases because it's increasing in the brain. About 15 years before we can start to see other measures of brain deterioration. About 5 to 10 years we can start to see some of the beginnings of the cognitive signs and symptoms progressing on to disease. Your second question was, how could this be used for people? Should they be tested now? It's not a test today, but what we're doing is discovering which molecules can be used, which molecules may provide that differentiation, that ability to say this person is now at risk. And in time, as new medicines are being developed to treat Alzheimer's, those two things are so important. You want to use a medicine to treat Alzheimer's before you get it.
So it may mean
you need to be able to measure if you're going to get the illness. That's why this study is important.
Sorry, so it will mean more effective treatment at an earlier stage then?
In due course. We don't have that medicine today, unfortunately. Many people are desperately working on that. I know many people would like us to work harder on that, but this particular study is really important in terms of being able to make those measurements that would come together in that total package to actually beat Alzheimer's.
Well, you talk about treatment, but are we any closer to a cure for the disease?
Today, no. Unfortunately, no. There are, from these research type studies, there are many drugs currently in clinical trials. None have come out the other end of that process as a means to stop, halt or cure Alzheimer's. but the intensity of research activity and the progress, even with the current medications that are available, I think gives great cause for optimism. In a sense, we need to be optimistic. It is going to be such an increasing health burden as our population ages. We will have more and more people with it. We really do need to treat it as quite a crisis, and something that we need to have ways of better measuring, diagnosing, and to be able to treat.
Professor Peter Schofield, thanks very much.
Pleasure.